go on the show, you must no. You keep writing until you no. So that's just it. Now we know the cause of war or cause of coup d'etat in West African states has been a political consciousness and knowing what they don't want, but not being able to define what they want.
Exactly.
So now with ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, going into military intervention in Niger. Why Niger? When Mali, Chad is under military rule, and out of the 15 member states of ECOWAS, 8 are French-speaking countries.
Yes.
Now, at least 5 out of these countries are under military rule.
Very correct.
With Nigeria and few other English-speaking, Gambia, Sierra Leone, and some other states, just 5 English-speaking countries. Now, why do we have more coup d'etat or military rule in former French colonies? Why? Could it be because of the direct rule they run during the independence, during the colonial days, or what do you think could be the factors that are responsible for this?
Well, I think this is you're on point, because there definitely is something linked to that association they have. Okay. In fact, the French run the kind of colonialism that was called assimilation. So it was like, you don't leave the Frenchness in you up till now. In fact, there's a system they use. They have a Conseil d'Etat. They have all these things that are still linked to France. But it's not just that. It is also because there's a spillover effect. Yes, it happens in one country. Then the neighbor, you notice that these countries are neighbors.
They are neighbors.
If you look that stretch of the Sahel, you will go from Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Chad. All of them have military rules because they are all in that line, in that stretch line. So everybody, but the main issue here is that even with the French presence, at one point, French military had over 15,000 soldiers all across that line. There were at least 5,000 in Chad and so on, and even to Eritrea. So what we are talking about is that because they've not been able to solve the problems, terrorism, poverty, and all that, everybody is kind of rebelling. It's kind of a mini rebellion, but it's not taking the form of the Arab Spring, which was very civilian. It's going through the military. So people are backing the military to do the rebellion. In fact, the military is doing the rebellion for them. The consequences of that is that we have some kind of political situation that is a bit complicated. People have forgotten, in 2021, Guinea went through something like that with President Embalo. And he had to be secured by ECOWAS. For over a year, ECOWAS soldiers were in Guinea. Nigerian soldiers were there as well as a peacekeeping force, not to intervene, but to prevent the military from taking over from Embalo, from removing from government. We've had such a case in Niger. This same Niger had a coup situation in 2010. So it's not really new as such. I wouldn't call it totally new. What is happening is that there's a spillover effect. When one state is under military rule and it seems to be doing well, the other states want to copy. That is why Burkina Faso and Mali actually said they will be ready to defend Niger if it's the same military junta now. They say they are all military people now, so they are kind of protecting themselves, so to say. So that's what's going on there. It's a spillover effect, I would say.
Spillover effect. Now we know spillover effect. And let's look at the military intervention. That's the Tiani, that's the present military head in Niger, and Bazoum, the hosted president. In 2010, there was a military coup d'etat in Niger in 2010, and this man praised the military interventionists or the coupists. He praised them and he was really in support, and even said the other person was prosecuted for this and that, and he was all hailing and giving out accolades. Then he was a parliamentarian. Now it is his turn. What should be done? What could have changed now that he was the elected president?
He's still the elected president.
The democratic president. Now the military has taken over. Do you see any possible handing over of power to him by the military government again?
I think that's the core of the problem we're living now. First thing, you rightly said he was in support in 2010. What happened then was right, because after that time, the military went into they allowed the constitutional reform in Niger, which now brought the new kind of rule they have, allowed for a prime minister and things like that. So there was a constitutional reform, and that is the point of the issue. Military governments, be it so that we don't want them, are supposed to be transitional. They come for a short time, do the reforms they want to do structurally, and go back. When they overstay, it becomes a dictatorship, because then the president starts taking off his uniform. He wants to become a civilian president, almost what General Abacha wanted to do in Nigeria. And we've had that in Mobutu, we had that Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a soldier. So these things happen. But Bazoum has an issue with the military. When he came to government, just about a year ago, his plan was to retire all of them. So I am thinking that what is going on is not just political. There is a vendetta aspect of it. Because he was planning to clean up the military, in quotes. They now reacted before that thing happened. So it is beyond just changing democracy and all that. There is a bit of vendetta. Don't forget, Bazoum comes from the minority Arab of Niger. Niger has Arabs, white-looking Arabs. Let me put it that way. And they are not very. In fact, he won the election through constitutional, through a constitutional process. It was not necessarily the election. I mean, he was conflictual. Yes, it was very unpopular. So there are reasons why these things happen that are a little bit beyond just getting civilian rule to come back. Now, your question was, how is it going to terminate? This is what we can't sit down here and say we know it. But one thing I know from the relationships of coups that has happened recently, they generally go for another election. And most likely Bazoum will be allowed to do an exile where he will go to a friendly country and stay. I don't imagine Bazoum staying in his country and then the military people saying we've done the coup but we reinstate the person we took out. It doesn't make sense. There is no sense in that. I know that is what ECOWAS is looking for, and that's where the blockade is coming out from, because ECOWAS is saying reinstate Bazoum, and the military people are saying no, this guy has to even go on trial. You see, and I think it's a vendetta.
It is,
because he has just been there for like a year or so. So you cannot say the problems of Niger were caused by Bazoum. No. Just in a year. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not as if he has destroyed the country.
And good one. And looking at to the student listening to us and other constituent person listening to us, in 1964, that was in Gabon, a military coup took place, and the president then, Leon Numba, was ousted and was reinstated after after the French forces intervened. So I think this still remains the only one that I know of that a military person took over and the ousted president was reinstated. So I don't know if this the one in Niger could be added to it again. So let's watch.
It will be very difficult.
It's going to be difficult
because he's a point of he's unpopular. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Bazoum is unpopular in his country for various reasons. I'm not saying he's inefficient, but he's unpopular. And at the moment, Niger is suffering more from terrorism than ever. So people, I'm talking of the Nigerians now, are assuming that the military solution is a good one. Especially to tackle the terrorism they have up in the north. So this is something where we are all in a position. I'm sure these kind of things, we have these kind of things in our mind. Most people believe that terrorism, we've had conversations like this before. They believe that terrorism should be tackled only purely militarily. But we know the background of terrorism is also poverty, poor education, and poor, so a lot of things are encompassed in this solution. It's not just military.
Okay, good one. And ECOWAS is an economic confederation.
Yes.
And as a confederation, they have treaties that are signed by member states. And looking at the principle of sovereignty, that the right of each country, of any country, to make laws and have them obeyed by the citizens, would the intervention of Nigeria or other foreign nations, would it be a negation to the principle of sovereignty?
No, it will not be. The right answer to that is no, it will not be, because in the Treaty of ECOWAS there are also parts where they let the people determine their governance by constitutional electoral means. It's clearly stated.
No, so not military. Most Nigerians are happy. They're happy. Yes, shouldn't they have the right to choose what and how they are elected?
Well, did they choose? That's the question. That is a very. I know what you have in mind. But the real question here is: did they choose?
Did they choose?
Because if you accept that means some group of captains tomorrow can take over from these ones, right? It's still the military. So you see, we will not be able to. One thing we cannot do as ECOWAS is to condone that military action. Now, the way we go about it was wrong because in hasty we said military intervention. That should be the last thing on the table.
Exactly.
There are several methods, and in fact, if you look very well, now they are doing things the right way. The ECOWAS heads of states are meeting. The ECOWAS defense chiefs are meeting. The ECOWAS diplomats are meeting. Different locations, Ghana, Nigeria, and all that. Now they are also discussing with the AU. Don't forget, all these ECOWAS, we're still under AU, African Union. It's not as if it's one continent. Then the AU is also under the UNO. You understand? There's several people. Then you have aides from the EU, aides from France, aides from US. I'm talking of Niger now. All these people are conversing and discussing. There will be no intervention without the US, without France, because they have bases there. They will not allow you intervene as long as their citizens are there. You know how it works. So all we are doing now is talking. You know, when two dogs are barking, you find out that when other dogs join them, they now start running and playing. You are wondering, but these two dogs were barking initially. So that is what we call diplomacy. They are all barking now to be able to